Warning, this content may be upsetting or disturbing to some audiences. Reddit, what's the creepiest encounter you've ever had with another human being? I was at college one day, and had an hour break between classes. I decided to take a spot at a huge empty table in a quiet courtyard just outside my next class and catch up on some reading for one of my other courses. A creepy-looking guy approached me and asked if he could sit with me. Since there were 3 other empty tables and no one else around, and the fact he was asking to sit with me, I thought he might be trying to sell me something. I decided to be polite and said yes. He took the bench right next to me. Our arms were touching. I moved away to get some personal space, and I was for sure creeped out. My radar was going ballistic at this point. As I moved, he grabbed my hand, laced his fingers in mine and told me to relax. He started going on about how amazing he was, you couldn't make this SHD up, and all this other nonsense. I wasn't 100% paying attention because I was hoping someone would come by and help me. After about 5 minutes of him rambling on, he asks for my phone number. I told him no, then he got upset. I truly believe he would have tried to hurt me, too, if another student hadn't come by at just the right time and sat down at the table next to us. I got the FCK out of Dodge. 2 days later, when I came back for that same class, I saw him doing the same thing to another girl. I went up to her and acted like we were best friends, and I was coincidentally running into her. I was thankful I got her out of that situation. She told me she was terrified. I don't know whatever happened to him, but I never did see him hanging around that area again. A few years ago, my wife and I went to a haunted corn maze a couple days before Halloween. We'd been drinking a little bit, so we managed to get lost as FCK inside. We had wandered around for about 20 minutes when this weird-looking guy starts following us around. We made a turn and ended up at a dead end. Really calmly, he looked at both of us and said some psycho could come here and kill people, everyone would just think it's part of the show. Scared the SHD out of us. When I was 10 years old, I had a really freaky thing happen at my house. I woke up in the middle of the night really thirsty. It was around 1 in the morning and the entire house was dark. I got out of bed and went downstairs to get a drink. Conveniently, my mom had just gotten up to do the same thing. Right when we got in the kitchen, a random car pulled into our driveway and a man got out. My mom and I are standing in the kitchen watching him very aggressively start coming towards our door. He was wearing a hoodie and black gloves, really big burly dude. Since the entire house was dark, he couldn't see us, but we could see him. The instant the light flipped on, he stopped, looked right at us, ran back to his car, hauled us out of our driveway and down the road. Never saw the guy again. I don't know if he was trying to break in or what he was planning to do, but I had nightmares about it for weeks. Scared the SHD out of me. I started talking to a girl online. She was 16, I was 17. I went to meet her and she was there with her mom. She hadn't gotten her license yet, so I didn't think much of her mom being there. Mom invited me to go eat with them, so I was like, whatever, sounds good. Girl immediately starts getting me ready to go, if you know what I mean. Rubbing in all the right places, getting closer to me, etc. She full on pulls me out and starts going down on me while her mom drives us around. The problem is, she is full on deep throating and gagging, so there is no way her mom doesn't hear this going on. Then her mom pulls off and parks, maintains full eye contact with me in the rearview mirror and watches her daughter finish me off. So bizarre. I was walking to class one morning as a college sophomore, and made the mistake of making eye contact with a random guy walking the opposite direction. I smiled, to be polite. This story is why I don't smile at random people anymore. The guy proceeded to change directions and follow me into the library. He never logged onto the computer he was sitting at. He never touched the keys, he was just watching me. I was creeped out but unsure of what to do. I booked it to class and he tried to follow me in. Thankfully, the classroom was small and there were no extra seats available. He had to leave. He was probably just a lonely guy with poor social skills, but I did not enjoy being followed all morning. Serves me right for leading him on with that slutty smile. A few years ago, I went for a leisurely jog in my quiet suburban neighborhood around dusk. I ended up making eye contact with a naked man furiously masturbating about 25 feet off the trail. I called the police, and later found out the naked man was caught asking a 13-year-old girl if he could impregnate her. I was about 5 and playing in my backyard when I got curious about the house being built on the property next to ours and edged my way closer to the construction site. When I was about 20 feet from the half-finished house, one of the workers noticed me and completely stopped what he was doing and just stared at me. I did not know what to do, so I just stood there. He then nudged his friend and pointed at me. I was scared at this point, as I was a shy child and feared they would come over and talk to me, but then the man's friend looked me dead in the eyes and said, "That's a cute kid. We should take it." At this point I was ready to SHT myself in fear, but instead I bolted back to my house, ran into my room, and hid in my closet. I remember thinking, and still do think, that the monsters in my closet can't be as scary as the ones outside my home. While on a walk through a park with my wife, I was stopped mid-sentence by a feeling of dread. Just a creepy feeling of evil like I've never felt before, of something behind us. Wife felt it too. This small blue truck pulled up and a guy and two dogs got out. We kept walking around while he walked his dogs. As we walked around, he kept close to us while paying attention to his dogs. We sat at a bench and his dog walking brought him so close to us that we could hear him mumbling political names. We quickly had enough and left. 2 blocks down the road he drives by us. He drove by again the other way. When we got home I waited out of sight and saw him driving around. I am pretty sure he was looking for us. Locked the door that night and felt pretty uneasy for a while. When I was 13, a taxi driver in Dubai asked me if I wanted to come to Pakistan with him to meet his mother. When I didn't answer, he asked my mom for my hand in marriage. I had a conversation with a man a few years older than me while waiting at some traffic lights on the Gold Coast. When we crossed, he thanked me for the company, walked up to another guy and started beating the SHT out of him. I was stalked by a brony in a fedora during high school. Less of an encounter, but a few weeks ago I was working a closing shift with a female coworker and she was trying to lock the door, but the key was shitty and wouldn't lock it properly. I held it shut and she managed to properly lock it right before he made it to us, and he just gave us a nasty look and walked off. I don't know what the FCK that guy wanted or if he just wanted to scare 2 young girls, but I'm just glad I'm leaving that place soon for a better job. I let a guy I met online while gaming come to visit me, after having what I felt was a clear conversation about how this was not going to lead to sex. The whole time he visited, including that he came halfway across the country without having purchased a return ticket, was creepy. For context, I'm a 21-year-old girl and this was a bald 45-year-old guy with a huge red knapsack, wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt. He also had really bulgy eyes, the kind that are really unnerving to make eye contact with. Then he randomly switched to talking about the increased military presence and the Paris attacks, which had at this time occurred like a week or 2 ago. The conversation about the Paris attacks went something like this: "You know about the Paris attacks, right? The terrorism? Yeah, well, it was actually supposed to happen right here in Penn Station." "Oh yeah, trust me, I know." He then winked at me and walked away, and went to the 2 military officers nearby and started thanking them excessively for their service. Thankfully my track number was called then and I noped the FCK out of there. A while back my sister came to visit me. One evening, she says she's going for a walk, code for she wants to toke up. She comes back and tells me there was this guy standing in the middle of the street with a long stick just staring at her, but then, after she goes back home, I see this guy with a stick everywhere. I see him at the park, in the street, in random driveways. I even saw him downtown one time. This happens almost every single day and he never says anything. He just stares at me. In college, I was waiting for the bus shuttle to arrive and take me back to my apartment complex. This young man sits next to me, but does so that he's looking right at me while I'm just looking ahead at the street. He's maybe 17 or 18 years old. He starts talking to me but his cadence was very unnerving. Like someone with a bomb strapped to their chest being compelled to follow a set of instructions. I can't recall the exact words he used, but I remember him talking about Bible and the end of the world. This didn't feel like your average recruitment attempt. This felt like a man on the verge of a breakdown. I would smile while offering short and polite replies. Every time I would say something, he would nod very slowly and look down a bit, and would then return to his fixed gaze. There was noticeable sweat on his brow, but I don't recall it being a hot day. Longest 5 minutes of my life. When I boarded that shuttle and it pulled away, him staying behind, I was so relieved. When I was younger, me and a friend were walking around our block being morons, when we noticed a white van behind us. Whichever street we went down, it went down. Whenever we stopped, it stopped. Tinted windows, but we could still see the guy watching us. The guy got out of the van and knocked on the door. Nobody was home, so he left. We saw him again when we walked home and he followed us again. When we got to my house, we told my stepdad as he came out and took his plates. That was when he drove off. Haven't seen him again since. Freaks me out to this day. Was driving along Hana Highway in Maui at roughly 1 a.m. in a rental car with my mates. We were driving through a thick forest in the middle of nowhere with no houses or towns in a 10 kilometers radius. Suddenly I saw a small side road up ahead, didn't see a face because it was covered by the coat too. She was just standing there, frozen still. Needless to say, we all shat our pants and got the fruit out of there quickly. It didn't help that this happened 20 minutes after a cow crapping in the middle of the road almost gave me a heart attack because I saw it only 20 feet before because of a small crest. Trolled my mates by stopping suddenly just after we saw the ghost lady since they were in the back of the pickup. Once, a guy grabbed my ass, then tried to fight me. It was very strange. I was high and hungover as shit, across the street from my house, having just walked a couple miles, and just wanted to go to sleep. Plus, I lacked any combat experience, and I was a total twig boy. That may have been his way of both expressing and repressing his urges. I'm kind of happy to know I had an S worth grabbing. Love threads like these when they take off. So many creepy things happen. Creepiest encounter I had didn't click till much later. Crossing the street in Redondo Beach, California, a homeless dude walks up and strikes small talk. I chuckled and moved on. Years later, Edward Snowden blew the whistle. Spooky homeless bro knew all along. While at work one day, these two really intimidating but clean-cut Russian guys came looking for one of my coworkers and asking for a lot of his personal information. The day before I got married, I was driving back roads from FT. Knox to my job in another county. Worked at a convenience store with my mama. My fiancé was military, so when I see this bald-headed guy carrying a green rucksack, I think I should offer him a ride. We're in the sticks after all. I stop and this guy gets in and looks like a lunatic. He tells me he just got out of the county jail. He proceeded to rock back and forth saying over and over, "I gotta find me a woman. I gotta find me a woman," like it's his f***ing mantra. I burst out crying and had the clerks call the law. I had a mason jar full of dope in the car, and I didn't give not one FCK. Cops came and removed him from my car, no arrest or nothing, not my scene, and gave me a stern talking to. Then I had to go to work at tell my mama. My boyfriend and I were walking home. We lived in a cabin at the top of a hill, and it was pitch black except for one light. We heard a rustling, and when we looked, under this light was a guy, but he was all over the place. We thought he was drunk until we realized he was bending in ways that was completely unnatural. Thinking about it now gives me shivers. It was like he didn't have a spine. I tried to run and my boyfriend said it was fine and we walked home. When we got there, he admitted he was actually terrified but didn't want to scare me in case I screamed. When I was in elementary school, I was going around my neighborhood selling goods like chocolate, baked goods, and candy for a fundraiser. You go door to door and ask them to order off a catalog. I did it because I really wanted to get the cool prizes, which included a mini soda dispenser. There was a woman there too in the background. But he looked at me and said really creepily and with a laughing sneer, "I don't know. It depends on how well you play chess." My eyes went wide in horror and I panicked, thinking he was going to kidnap me and force me to play chess in his house, and I sped away as fast as I could. I think he called out to say he was joking, and for me to come back. I didn't look back because I was so scared, but after that, I was always scared of that street even though my neighborhood was a really safe place. Knocks on stall in Walmart bathroom, creepy old pedo voice, "Come in." Nope nope nope. I had a creepy Indian guy follow me on my journey to and from work every day for a while. He'd sit and rub his DCK on the train opposite me and stare at me. I actually have a picture of him doing it too. I saw him more recently when I had another job, but he didn't recognize me, thankfully. I met a guy at uni while smoking weed in my car, saw him rolling a blunt and he asked if I wanted to join, so I said of course. We did this every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. After we finished smoking the bull, I GTFO told him I wanted to study for a test, and that was the last time I saw him. When me and my siblings were kids, there was a guy who'd park in the lot next to our house and watch us play and whatever. Can't remember if I was the only one who actually noticed him. My mom, Who is the one who remembers this part of the experience for obvious reasons thankfully was paying attention and flew out of the house to curse the dude out and whatnot. He never came back. I honestly hadn't thought about this and what was actually going on before. Retroactively creeped myself out a bit 30 years on. At the time I'm a small 19-year-old living alone in a pretty dodgy part of my town. My boyfriend has just left and I'm getting ready for bed. I lie down and through the Venetian blinds I see this huge man looming at my window. I lived in a duplex and to get to my window one needed to walk past my neighbor, and crush my garden. One cannot just happen to be there. I turned on all my lights, grabbed my tailor's shears and a nightstick torch. I had 2 months left on my lease. I didn't sleep well that entire time. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share and we will see you in the next video.